Hello from the Philadelphia Airport Marriott, a very exciting place to recap what was kind of a wild four-game series between the Giants and Phillies. Two teams that obviously now we can see have playoff aspirations. Actually, so I think people who follow me, even here on YouTube, they know this is a great place for Philadelphia is a great place for ice cream in the press box. And Frankie Two Scoops, who serves it every single day, won't let you walk out of there without your two scoops. He did say at the end when I saw him on Thursday after my eighth scoop of the series. He said, I hope I see you guys again in the postseason because it's been a fun week. It was a really interesting four-game series. Um, Wrote about it a lot at NBC Sports Bay Area. Me and Cole Kuiper just taped a long podcast, just kind of going over everything and what we saw, but wanted to touch on four more things here. Four things we learned from four games in Philadelphia. Just a bizarre series at times poorly played, at times very well played. But it's always fun here. I love watching games here. The Phillies fans, they go all out. They have a good time. But I think we have to start with the first innings and what was the real red flag. And it's been a little bit of a red flag early on this season, but you saw it really over these four games. And look, that's a good lineup over there. Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Castellanos, Real Muto. It's a very good lineup over there. But still, you don't expect three out of four games where your starting pitcher runs into trouble in the first inning. Both Monday and Wednesday, Bob Melvin has to get the bullpen up in the first inning. He doesn't do it Thursday because they really had no choice. Like Jordan Hicks was going to have to wear that. And he ends up going seven innings, but if it got really ugly for him, it was going to have to get really ugly because someone had to throw some innings on Thursday. But still, just kind of a red flag overall early on. Obviously, a very good start for the Giants, but they flirted with disaster quite a bit early in games. Justin Verlander came out in the third inning one game, almost came out in the third inning of another game, had the bullpen warming up behind him. So they've kind of gotten away with it so far, but I think not a comfortable couple weeks here for Bob Melvin and pitching coach JP Martinez. And overall, Giants are 27th right now with the 4.80 ERA, which is who expected the San Francisco Giants built around their lineup in 2025, not around their rotation. That is not at all what they expected. They were not supposed to outslug teams, but Wilmer Flores has turned into Aaron Judge apparently, and Tyler Fitzgerald's back, and Matt Chapman had a good series. Jung-Hoo Lee's been excellent, on and on. But this is a team that's supposed to be able to turn on pitching. That was the plan. It's a little bit better when you look at FIP, xFIP, some of the expected statistics. Came into Thursday's game 13th in the majors in FIP. So that's it is better, but um, I think that's probably the one thing that stood out the most in this series was just this is not what they expected to be this worried um, this often is guys just try to get out of the first inning. So definitely something that they want to right the ship on going forward. And I think look, the weather was bad. That played into it certainly on this trip, but I don't know that you can look at it and go like it's a tough lineup over there. It is. So are the Dodgers, so are the Padres. So they're going to have to beat lineups like this to be competitive in their division and to make the playoffs. So that is something they definitely have to turn around. I mentioned Tyler Fitzgerald. He's my second thing that stood out here. A really, really good series for him, and he's now hitting 309, 872 OPS. His numbers are ahead of where they were last year, so he has improved at least early on his really good rookie season. I think it's encouraging to see him come out and do what he did because he had a rough spring, had a rough early first couple weeks. He was very honest about it this week. He told reporters, and again, this story is on NBCSportsBayArea.com. He talked to us very openly about like if this happened last year, he probably would have been optioned, and we know he probably would have been optioned because we saw this last year. Remember, he got picked off. He was on ice for a week, and then he did get optioned. So yeah, they were patient with him, and it's paying off. A hat tip to Barry Bonds, who helped him out a little bit on the last homestand, helped him try to stay on top of the ball, and he's been working on that. But you see him, he's back to crushing fastballs. He's back to crushing pitches that he should hit. There will be slumps over the course of the year as well, but I think one thing that's always stood out to me is he should be one of the better second basemen in the National League. You look at last year, Nico Horner was second among National League second basemen in wins above replacement. He was right around league average as a hitter, obviously a very good defender. But Jonathan India was fourth. The Reds traded him like after the season. He never felt like a huge part of what they were doing. So it's a pretty low bar at second base in the National League, and I think Tyler should pretty easily be one of the better second basemen and give the Giants an advantage there. Third thing here, you have to give a tip of the cap to the bullpen. Lou Trevino, Spencer Bivens, Camilo Doval on Wednesday. They do a great job, 5 innings. Trevino especially just kind of settled that game down. He's a local guy. He grew up going to Phillies games. He got a ton of joy out of getting his first win since 2022. And that's huge. And the flip side of the rotation, struggling so much early on, the bullpen is second in the big league so far with a 1.89 ERA. Only the San Diego Padres are under two. They're the only team that's better. And the Giants and and the Padres are the only two teams with the bullpen ERA under two so far. So that part of the pitching staff has lived up to expectations. And, we've seen it with Tyler Rogers, Ryan Walker, Randy Rodriguez, who probably should have come into the game sooner on Tuesday night. Um, Bullpen's been really good. It has saved those guys saved the team quite a bit early on here. The last thing we learned, this is from Thursday's game. I had no idea this was something that was being watched this year. When obviously Jordan Hicks and the Phillies were going back and forth. Jordan Hicks and Phil Cousy were going back and forth. Uh, that particular umpire has had his moments with the Giants over the years. You go back to 2010 with a play with Travis Ishikawa. I actually covered that game. I was a little kid, basically, but I was at that game, and I remember that was, yeah, not a great call. Pre-replay, but he's known, I guess, around the league. He is fiery, as Matt Chapman said after this game. Him and Chapman smiled and said him and Jordan Hicks are both a little hot-headed, so no surprise that they went at it a little bit. But at the end of the game, he had some words with Jung Hoo Lee as well. Took a close 1-1 pitch. It was called a strike. It was a strike. It was a good call. Right at the bottom of the zone. Jung Hoo was not happy about it. And as he always does, he tapped his helmet, which he does all the time. If you watch him during a game, he constantly loses his helmet. It's constantly flying off. I'm not sure why, but it just always is. Just one of those guys. His helmet's always coming off. So he said that after the game. He said, I'm always tapping my helmet. But apparently that's no longer allowed. Alec Boehm did that earlier this series. It makes sense. It's a little trolly if you go back to spring training with challenging balls and strikes, and that is the way that hitters can do it is by tapping their helmet. So umpires don't want that. Dan Bellino, who is the crew chief, told a pool reporter, Justice De Los Santos of the San Jose Mercury News, he talked to him, and he said, because of what happened in spring training throughout MLB this year, we're not letting them tap their heads. Bellino said that would be arguing balls and strikes. So it's the same thing as arguing balls and strikes. I'm not saying that's what he was doing or not. Phil was telling him, hey, you can't tap your head right after a pitch that you disagree with because it looks as though you're arguing balls and strikes. It makes sense if you think about it. Like it's an easy way to troll umpires, and you can see why they want to cut down on that a little bit, especially with challenges probably coming next year. But something new, something we did not know about until Thursday in the ninth inning when Jung Hoo Lee got in a little bit of trouble with the umpire for he thought maybe he was showing him up. Jung Hoo said, I don't speak English. I'm not trying to show you up. I'm not doing anything here. But basically, Phil circled back after the game and said, don't be tapping your head after pitches. So something to watch. I guess Jung Hoo will have to figure out a different way to readjust his helmet after every pitch because umpires don't like that one. So that was interesting. But anyway, 2-2. This is a tough place to play. Phillies over the last calendar year have the best home record in baseball, right ahead of the Dodgers. They have, over the last 10 series at Citizens Bank Park, they have won 8 of them. They have tied 2 of them. So coming out of here with a series split, pretty good for the Giants, especially, Matt Chapman said after the game, he's like, you look at last year, they got swept. Last year was a disaster here in Philadelphia. So feel pretty good about it. They feel pretty good about themselves as they head to Anaheim for the Manassian Bowl. We'll check back in after that.